Hey friends, it's Medium Jenny Lee. I'm here with the next installment of the Raw Contact Volume 1 book discussion. We're on session 8, which makes this video number 9. And if you watched number 8 about session 7, I gave you guys a little warning that this section of the book is going to be a little bit difficult. There's some triggering things in here that can get pretty negative and a little scary. So don't let it bring your frequency down too much, because remember, this was, first of all, was written in 1981. That's 41 years ago. And second of all, do we really know that all of this is fact? And do we really know if everything was interpreted correctly through the channeling? And do we really know that our interpretation of it is also correct? So when we get into this session and it gets a little bit cray-cray, just remember, the world is what we make it. We manifest what we want, and we can avoid the things that we don't want. So, are you ready? Buckle up. This one's going to be a real rough, bumpy ride. All right, we're in session 8. Okay. So Don is asking about the council, the confederation. He's talking about advertising again. Asking about the material that they're getting from Raw and sharing it with others. Consider, if you will, the path of your life complex has taken. Consider the consequences and odd circumstances by which one thing flowed to the next. Consider this well. Each entity will receive the opportunity that each needs. Oh, there was just 222 on the screen. Oh my God. Okay. So Don's question was, we're going to have to share this information with people. Should we advertise it, or is that like against people's free will? And I just love this little paragraph. Let's read it again. Consider, if you will, the path your life experience complex has taken. Consider the coincidences and odd circumstances by which one thing flowed to the next. Consider this well. Each entity will receive the opportunity that each needs. To me, that means that we have free will to choose our paths, but the universe is going to continuously step in to create opportunities for us to choose what we need. And if you are, I don't know, I was gonna say if you're like over the age of 18, but some people might have even figured this stuff out earlier than that, and you've been aware of your life path and the people who have come into your life and the things that have happened to get you where you are today, that path can be really weird. And without one little thing happening, it would be completely different. It would be completely different. Like being put in a class with someone that you didn't know before and you becoming friends. Or being introduced to somebody that you randomly met one day. Or, like just the littlest things that are in our control and not in our control that lead us down these paths to where we end up can be very interesting if you really think about it. If you consider it well, that's what Rob says. And that's something that I have been acutely aware of for most of my adult life. Thinking back over things, and if X didn't happen, why would it never happened? And then where would my life have gone if that little thing hadn't happened? Like, I think about that stuff all the time. But the biggest part of this tiny little paragraph in this session, which will be the most beautiful part of this session, I promise, because it gets real scary after this part. The universe is going to give us the opportunities that we need. Now, whether we take those opportunities or not is our free will. But the weird stuff that happens is going to help try to lead us in the right direction for what we need to ascend, or, whatever you need. How nice is that? I love it. The information source beingness does not have uses in this life experience complex of each of those among your people who seek. Thus, the advertisement is general and not designed to indicate the searching out of a particular material. Once again, Ra has said a whole bunch of words that make it real confusing. And to sum it up, what he said was, what they said was, is that he's like, Don, you don't have to advertise specific information. Just do it in a general way. And the people that are searching, the people who are seeking and searching, will find it. Next. So now he wants to know about all these UFO landings. You can tell that this is really eating up Don, this UFO stuff. And you'll see he starts losing his mind in a little bit. Poor Don. Your peoples have at this time-space present the technological achievement to create and fly the type of craft that you identify as UFOs. Unfortunately, for the social memory complex vibration rate of your peoples, these devices are not intended for the service of mankind, but for destructive use. This further muddles the vibratory nexus of your social memory complex, causing a situation where neither those oriented towards serving others nor those oriented towards serving self can gain the energy power which opens the gate to intelligent infinity for the social memory complex. This in turn causes the harvest to be small. Ra just dropped some major crazy information on poor old Don. And he is about to lose his mind because Ra just said that humans have made disc-shaped UFOs. I remember it's 1981. So like Roswell was not even 40 years ago at this point. And Don, clearly Don has been following the UFO phenomena of the last 30 years at that point, because he keeps bringing it up, So let's see what happens next. Are these craft that are of our peoples from what we call planets that are not incarnate at this time? Where are they based? So he hasn't quite figured it out yet. Okay. They're made by our military complex of our people. Our people's military complexes are making these. The bases are varied. Some are near the Bahamas and some are in the Pacific Ocean near the Chilean border. Some are on the moon. Some move about the land and some are in the skies. They are very numerous and potentially destructive. because they're made as weaponry. They're destructive. They're weapons. Don asks, where do the people who operate these craft come from? Are they affiliated with any nation on Earth? He still hasn't gotten it yet. He just doesn't want to believe it. People have been making them because they claim that it's for national security. We're still doing this, right? Cold War times, and I feel like we're in another one at the present time continuum. How did the United States learn the technology to build? And he's starting to lose it here because he can't even talk now. The recorder can't pick up what he's saying because he's starting to lose his mind. How did the United States learn of the technology to build these? Land inaudible. Here we go. Look whose name just popped up. Good old Nikola Tesla. They done stole his stuff. The United States stole all of Nikola Tesla's papers. And they claimed it was a national security issue. And they used it. They used all of his stuff. So the United States got their information from Nikola Tesla. They stole all his stuff. And they're using it secretively for national security. See my fingers? National security. Okay. Then in the case of the Russians, this is really messed up. I'm real pissed off about this. And if this is true, I don't care if that social memory complex doesn't have a body, I will slap it. Because what the hell were they thinking? Did they not see what was happening? Okay. The Russians. The Russians got their technology from one of the damn Confederation 27 years ago. In 1981, 27 years ago. Somebody figure that math out. To help bring about peace. They thought that by giving Russians the same technology that it would cause peace. My brain hurts. The entities giving this information were in error. No shit. But we did many things at the end of this cycle in attempts to aid your harvest, from which we learned the folly of certain types of aid. Which this harvest thing basically, to me, sounds like when you die, you can move up. So it was almost like, oh, we really messed up here. And we gave some technology to these people that apparently weren't going to use it for something good. What a surprise. So when you die, we'll help move you along so you don't have to come back and do that part again. Thanks, Confederation. Thanks. That is a contributing factor to our more cautious approach at this date, even as the need is great. The need is power upon power greater, and your people's call is greater and greater. So now they're just not going to help us anymore, even though shit got real out of hand. Now Don has completely lost his ever-loving mind. I'm puzzled by these craft that we have undersea bases for. They can't hear it. Is this technology sufficient to overshadow all the armaments? Do we have to just have the ability to fly in these craft? Are they weapons like he can't even think. Where are they given? Where were they given to us? Can't even speak. Or are they just craft for transport? Poor Don really just wants these crafts to be for transport. And no matter how many times Ra tells him that they're weapons, he just can't. The poor man just can't. He just can't. They're weapons, Don. They're weapons. The weaponry is of two base kinds. One is a psychotronic, and one's a particle beam. The amount of destruction that they can cause is considerable. They've used them to alter weather patterns and to enhance the vibratory change which engulfs your planet. to enhance the change. They've changed the weather to make it change more. And then they're going to say that it's our fault. Okay, let's not get on that topic. How have they been able to keep this a secret? Why aren't these crafts used for transport? Poor Don, he's so naive. The governments of each of your societal division illusions desire to refrain from publicity so that the surprise may be retained in case of hostile action from what your peoples call enemies. Which that they use that excuse over and over and over again. They still are using that excuse. I don't know if you guys watched the debriefing, whatever they call them, hearing about UFOs that took place at the end of May. No, end of May? Yes, at the end of May 2022. The U.S. government got onto television and the internet and openly started talking about UFOs. Just enough. Just enough. But they couldn't share any of the real information for the same reason. 41 years later, they're still using the same excuse. Okay. How many of the craft does the United States have? In 1981, they had 573. But they're continuing to add to them all the time. How fast can they go? 1/2 light speed 40 years ago. So imagine how fast they can make them now. Don still can't believe this. Wouldn't this type of craft totally solve or come close to solving a lot of the energy problems as far as transport goes? He's so confused. That we're using to transport blah, 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 transporting blah, blah, blah. God. Don, you might have a sweet, soft soul that wants to help everybody else. But unfortunately, we live on a planet of dicks. The technology your peoples possess at this time is capable of solving each and every limitation which plagues your society memory complex at the present nexus of experience. The technology they had in 1981 would solve all of our problems. But instead of using it to help each other, they've used it to try to destroy each other. However, the concerns of some of your beings with distortions towards what you call powerful energy cause these solutions to be withheld until the solutions are so needed that those with the distortion can then become further distorted in the direction of power. People in power want to have more power. People that control the oil and the gas companies don't want to lose their money, so they're not going to allow some free energy. So then Don asks about the Orion group. What's their purpose? This is where stuff gets really awful. Because we know humans are awful. We know humans do awful stuff to each other. We're used to that. But did we know that there's a whole group of alien beings out there that are trying to do the same awful stuff? That's the scary part, because they have way more technology than us. Their purpose is conquest. What do they do when they land? People are taken onto their craft and programmed for future use. The first level is that they do research, or the first level that will be discovered by those who do research. So basically, they're taking people so that people will figure out that they're taking people. Second is a triggering program. Third, a second and more deeply triggering program crystallizing the entity, thereby rendering it lifeless and useful as a kind of beacon. This is a form of landing. So they're taking people and they're triggering them. They're putting in a system that will trigger them. And then they're using some of them to the point where they would become useless. They would become lifeless and useful as a beacon. Ay, ay, ay. The second form is that of landing beneath the Earth's crust, which is entered from water. Again, in the general area of South America and the Caribbean areas, and close to the North Pole. The bases of these people are underground, so they can get to the underground bases through the oceans and the water. What's the objective of the Orion group? As we have previously said, their objective is to locate certain people which vibrate in resonance with their own vibration, then to enslave the unelite. As you may call those who are not of the Orion vibration. So the Orion group is looking for other people that they consider to be elite, and then they're going to enslave everybody else. Which is why Ra used the example of Hitler. But remember what Ra said previously, if that scares the bejesus out of you. Ra said that at any given time, the Orion group is only 1/10 of the Confederation, and they can never keep their shit together. Never. So what do we really need to worry about here? Okay. Next. He wants to know if the landing in Pascagoula in 1973 of Charlie Hickson was of the Orion group. So why don't we look that up? Because I think I've heard this story, and probably I've heard the story more than once. But we should get the details here. Pascagoula UFO 1973. Pascagoula abduction was an alleged UFO sighting and alien abduction in 1973 of Charlie Hickson and Calvin Parker. So Pascagoula is in Mississippi, if you did not know. On October 11th, 1973, 42-year-old Charlie Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker, oh yeah, I've heard this one, told the Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office they were fishing off a pier in the river, and they heard a whirring sound and 2 flashing blue lights, and observed an oval shape 30 to 40 feet across and 8 feet wide. They were consciously paralyzed, and 3 creatures with robotic slit mouths and crab-like pinchers took them aboard and subjected them to an examination. And I remember, now that I've seen this, that over time, you know, as that happened in 1973, that's a long time ago now, over time, one of the 2 people's stories never changed. There's a, I believe, if you're interested in this particular story, I'm pretty sure that there's a podcast called Supernatural with Ashley Flowers. They're not making any more episodes, but they did this in one of their episodes, if you want to know more about it. So that's what Dawn is asking about, and let's see what Ra has to say. The landing of which you speak was what you would call an anomaly. It was not the Orion group, nor our people in thought form, but a planetary entity of your own vibration, which came through quarantine in all innocence in a random landing. So it wasn't the Confederation, it wasn't the Orion group. It was just like some aliens on a little, you know, cruise around the galaxy. And they just decided to land and see what some humans look like. What did they do to Charlie when they took him on board? They wanted to know about his life experience with war. How did they use him? They just wanted to learn. They watched it like a movie. They watched his war experiences like a movie. They wanted to know his feelings, perceptions, and experiences. And they referred to him as a hero. Was Charlie originally of the same complex, social memory complex as the one who picked him up? This entity of vibratory sound complex did not have a connection with those who used him. So no. Did those who used him use his war experiences to learn more of the Law of One? Yes. Were the entities that picked him up, is this the normal configuration of these entities? They are rather unusual. The configuration of their beings is their normal configuration. The unusualness is not remarkable. We ourselves, when we choose a mission among your peoples, need to study your peoples for had we arrived in no other form than our own, we would have been perceived as light. That's pretty interesting. So the way that Charlie described the aliens was what they really look like. Otherwise, he would have just seen them as light beings. What density is the entities that Charlie picked up Charlie? Their third density of a higher order. So, and then the rest of this part, I wrote a little note. They wouldn't have used him except he chose to be in service before this incarnation. So he had made a choice to be of service before he came into this Charlie Hickson body. And that's why they decided to use him to learn about war. Where they come from? They came from the Sirius galaxy. So this is where, the first time ever, Dawn is questioning what Ra has to say. The most startling information is that the United States has 573 crafts. How many people in the government are where? How many total people in the United States are aware? The number of your peoples varies based on who needs to know the information. In 1981, 1,500 people approximately knew about it. Where do they make them? In New Mexico and Mexico, under the ground. So you're telling me that we have a plant in Mexico? Poor Don. Oh, goodness. Ra's trying to shake him out of it. He says, may I remind you that this is not have to do with the Law of One. However, we carefully watch these developments and hope that your people are able to be harvested in peace. So if your world completely goes to crap, we're going to come save you after you're dead. Okay. Don's trying to get it together, but he just can't. And he questions him openly. This information is so startling, it makes me question your validity on this. Up to this point, I was in agreement with everything. He just cannot wrap his mind around the fact that the United States would have this capability and be keeping it from its people. I think in 2022, that's no surprise to anybody, right? You can't ride in it. It's a weapon. It's not piloted. It's remote. It's a remote source. It's a computer. A person runs the computer and makes them fly. There's no people in them because they're weapons. We really have a plant in Mexico? Why do we have a plant in Mexico? Because of the dryness in the ground and the near total lack of population of people. The government officials who agreed did not know the use to which their land would be put, but thought it was a governmental research installation for use in what you would call bacteriological warfare. Which is worse? Mexico, you're just letting the United States come and buy up some of your land to put a frickin' plant in there to test out biological warfare? I think I'd rather be like, okay, go make some UFOs. What were you thinking? Money. That's probably what it was. Money. Next question. Is this the type of craft that Dan Fry was transported in? So I don't know who Dan Fry is. Let's look him up. Diving deep into this UFO stuff today, people. Dan Fry. Am I spelling it right? Yes. UFO. No, I didn't mean Don Fry. Okay. Daniel William Fry was an American contactee who claimed he had multiple contacts with an alien that took a ride in a remotely piloted alien spacecraft in 1949. Wow. In New Mexico. Interesting. Let's see. The one known as Daniel was in thought form transported by the Confederation thought form vehicular illusion in order to give this mind-body-spirit complex data so that we might see how this type of contact aided your people in the uncovering of the intelligent infinity beyond the illusion of limits. That was a lot to say. Okay. Basically, the Confederation took him in a thought form vehicle. It was an illusion of a vehicle. So that they could, it was like an experiment to see, by giving him some information, what would happen. Would it be possible for any of us to have some sort of contact with the Confederation in a more direct way? In observing the distortions of those who underwent this experimental sequence, we decided to gradually back off from direct contact in thought form. The least distortion seems to be available in mind-to-mind communication. Therefore, the request to be taken aboard is not one we care to comply with. You're most valuable in your present orientation. So they're not doing that anymore. And they would prefer to communicate like they're doing with Carla, by mind-to-mind communication. Okay. So the reason why Don's freaking out is because he's worried that if he puts this information in this book, that it's going to be a really difficult area for him, for the readers, and would it even get him in trouble with the United States government? And I kind of feel the same way for this video. Not the old information, but if you've been keeping up with UFO stuff at all in the last 10 years, there's a lot of crazy new stuff. And I really feel like most of it is us. So what kind of weird stuff are we making now? And what are we using it for? It's not for transport, I'll tell you that. Okay. All right. We speak as you deem fit in further sessions, asking you to be guided by your own discernment only. So he's telling him about the stuff, If you think that it's not a good idea to put it in the book or to ask these questions, then that's your free will, basically. The diameter of the UFOs the United States has made was 23 feet. Last question, is there anything we can do to make Carla more comfortable? Fix her spine a little bit, and the sensor of incense was slightly off. And because it was slightly off, she would experience a slight discomfort. So that's the end of session 8. No surprise to me about plenty of governmental complexes around the world making stuff that we don't know about, that's not helpful, that's only for destruction. What a shock. The Orion group out there trying to enslave people so they can make an elite social memory complex. Kind of scary. But I don't know. What do you guys think about all this? Is it terrifying? I know when I was reading it through the first time, I was like, oh, no, we're not doing this. So yeah, what do you guys think? Does it matter? Does it not matter? This life's an illusion. We're going to go on to something else afterwards. We're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep incarnating. We're going to keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. Does it matter? Or does it matter that we're still awful? That we're still doing awful stuff? Because one is all is one. If we're doing awful stuff, we're doing awful stuff to everybody, to everything, the whole existence. Yeah. Anyway, so then to sum up this session, there was a lot of questions about UFOs, ours and others, and alien abductions, and secret bases. But remember, let's remember, at the very beginning of the session, there was one bright, beautiful thing about the universe, the law of one, that all is one, that there's something out there that's trying to help us have the opportunity to take what we need from the world. Each entity will receive the opportunity that each needs. So when you see your opportunity, grab it, people. Grab it. Because you never know when the Orion group's going to come and slave all of us. No. I shouldn't joke about that. Or when we're going to blow ourselves up. When are we going to do that? That seems way more likely. So I would say, find your opportunities, the universe. Find the breadcrumbs the universe is leaving for you. Take the opportunities for the things that you really need, and let's not worry about the rest of it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. This is the... what number? What number did we say? The 9th video? Is this really the 9th video? I said at the beginning. This is the 9th video. So there are 8 previous videos and the 2 raw contact videos from Twitch. First contact, second contact, high weights. Thanks for going on this wild ride with me today, and I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time for the next discussion. The big 1-0 discussion, 10. The next one will be a little bit better, I promise. Don gets his stuff together in the next session, so he's not freaking out anymore. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.